What is going on, everyone? Have you ever just wanted to get away? People do it all the time. Sadly, sometimes they didn't plan it that way. People have mental breakdowns, people encounter foul play, they get lost at sea, and some people think little green men snatch them up and do experiments on their backside. Did you know that there are places in the United States where more than a few people have just disappeared without a trace? Like poof, they're gone, never to be seen again. People have theories on what happened, but no solid proof. I mean, occasionally it's safe to assume that if a person fell overboard while boating on a New Jersey lake or something, but there's no proof until they find that person or body, whatever the case may be. And that's what today's list is all about. Places where people have disappeared, never to be found again, more than once in a location. So, hey, lock your front door, grab a cup of tea, and watch my top 10 places people keep disappearing from in the United States. Number 10, Irkhammer, Iowa. Now, this one's really weird. Irkhammer was a town in Iowa, and I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing it right, but we'll press on. Anyway, there was supposedly a town that once existed known as Irkhammer, though no one speaks of it today. It had apparently been an average Midwestern community up until about 1928, when all the residents suddenly vanished, like they don't know where they went. The population of Iowa is sort of sparse today, so you can imagine what it was like back in 1928. There were several reports from passing travelers of this empty town, which eventually led to an incident being published in some local newspapers, but the stock market crashed in 1929, and soon this was just a back page story. It became a side note in a really tragic time in the United States. When the Dust Bowl hit, Irkhammer was left in a disheveled state and quickly forgotten. There are no traces of the town to this day. Some really aren't sure where it was. Obviously, we didn't have satellites and YouTubes back then, so we'll never know what happened for sure. You know, if that was reported today, tomorrow the town would be crawling with YouTubers, including myself, trying to figure out what went on. Number 9, the Bennington Triangle. Located in the southwestern part of Vermont, this landlocked triangular area is notorious for a string of unexplained disappearances that occurred here. From 1945 to 1955, 7 to possibly 10 people vanished in this area, ranging from an 8-year-old boy to a 74-year-old mountain guide female. And even a man disappeared while on the bus, like he was on the bus one minute, gone the next. There's also other reports that people that were heading that direction were never heard from again. There's no real evidence of that. There's one story in 1949 where 3 hunters went missing from the area, but like I said, little evidence of those claims. To this day, there's no definite explanation for the vanishings. I mean, nobody was ever found. Nobody knows what happened. Nobody saw them get abducted. They didn't find a body at the bottom of a ravine, nothing. A lot of people believe that they may have been victims of a serial killer, but again, no proof. It's either that or maybe Bigfoot's abducting people. I've never heard of him abducting people, but maybe he's just that good. Number 8, the Great Smoky Mountains. Between the states of Tennessee and North Carolina, you have the Appalachian Mountain area. Inside that, you have the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. If you've never been here or seen the Great Smoky Mountains, I would suggest it. You'll thank me later. Unless, of course, you end up going missing, then I imagine your family's going to build a voodoo doll about me and force it to watch the Kardashians, because that's torture. Since the Smoky Mountains are part of the national park system, it's natural that they get a lot of tourists. And many of those tourists go to the towns that are all around the area. Get a lot of foot traffic for their businesses. The downside is a bunch of people have gone missing over the years. The earliest one recorded was in 1969 when a 6-year-old boy went missing. Despite the largest manhunt in the history of the Smoky Mountains National Park, searchers came up empty in June of 1969 while looking for 6-year-old Dennis Martin. Dennis's father and some other adults sat southwest of Anthony Creek Trailhead watching Dennis, his 9-year-old brother Douglas, and a couple other boys playing near the top of the trailhead. Douglas, the 9-year-old brother, would later tell the park officials that he and the other children hatched a plan to play a joke on the grown-ups. They would sneak around and surprise them. Douglas and the 2 other boys went one way, and 6-year-old Dennis went the other. Not a good plan already. It was the last time he was ever seen again. The adults had seen the boys split up, but when Douglas and the other 2 reappeared, there was no Dennis. They've never found a trace. And then the latest one happened in 1981 when an elderly woman went into the woods and was never seen again. Number 7, Superstition Mountains. Out in the desert of Arizona near Phoenix sits the Superstition Mountains. Locals call it Superstitions. When the Spanish originally rolled through here, they called them Sierra de la Espuma, which I believe I pronounced it right. Anyway, it's been a long time since I took a Spanish class. But it means the mountain range of foam. I don't know what was going on with these Spaniards when they rolled through here. They were missing like bubble baths or whatever and just had bubbles on their mind. They called them the mountain range of foam. These mountains are not only known for their legends among the Apache people, who believe that this is the entrance to the underworld somewhere around these these mountains, but who knows. It's also known for numerous disappearances that have occurred over the years. A lot of these people went missing and were found years later. Dead, obviously. And the strange thing about a lot of them, they were missing their heads. It's like some tradition around here. Find someone in the desert digging around and you chop off their head. I don't know. A lot of people go here over the, decades and centuries looking for the lost Dutchman's gold. They had another one in 1958. The identity of the person who disappeared is unknown. But in April of 1958, a deserted campsite was discovered over the northern outskirts of the mountain range. And the scene was pretty grim. Things like cooking tools, gun cleaning supplies, a Geiger counter, and some personal letters were left behind. But most disturbingly, there was a blood-soaked blanket. Someone left their letters behind, but tore all the addresses out of the letters and the name of the person. So they don't know where the person went. They just know there was a bloody blanket behind, left all their stuff behind, and someone took all the names off the letters. That's just weird. Number 6, Pyramid Lake. Near Reno, Nevada sits Pyramid Lake, named after the pyramid-shaped rock formation sticking out of the water. Pyramid Lake, you get it? The lake is on the Paiute Indian Reservation. It is one of the tribe's main fishing grounds. The lake is home to a couple different species of trout, so there's good eating there. But this beautiful lake got some attention in the media and the internet when 2 men went missing there in 2017, leading to some speculations about what could have happened to them. It's been 2 years since Ron Hagwood and Quentin Johnson went missing, and there's a lot of theories out there. This even includes the idea that they were dragged underwater by spirits known as water babies. Yeah, water babies. They're these things that they make a crying noise, and when you look over to see if there's a baby in the water, they pull you in, never to be seen again. And it's also part of the Paiute legend. This is the thing about the lake. It is deep and it stays cold. This causes bodies that fall into the lake not to decompose. If they don't decompose, they stay preserved and submerged for a very long time. In the 1980s, a body of a woman floated to the top of the lake. They pulled her out, obviously. They did an autopsy and came to the conclusion she died in the 1800s. That's freaky. Number 5, the Nevada Triangle. Consisting of a large section of desert and the Sierra Nevada mountains, this triangular area in Nevada and California has made headlines in the last decade or so due to a disappearance that occurred on September 3rd, 2007. The victim was aviator, adventurer, and friend to billionaires Steve Fawcett. He flew into the Nevada Triangle in a small plane and was never seen or heard from again. On May 1st, 2008, they did find the plane, but no Steve. Then on October 29th, 2008, search teams recovered 2 large human bones that they suspected might belong to Fawcett. These bones were about a half a mile east of the crash site, and it also had a tennis shoe with animal bites on it. So things weren't looking good for Steve at this point. And on November 3rd, the California coroner said that the DNA profiling of the 2 bones confirmed that it matched Fawcett's DNA. Madera County Sheriff John Anderson said Fawcett would have died on impact in such a crash, and that it's not unusual for an animal to drag remains away like this. So yeah, I hope he died on impact. That'd be kind of brutal. You're sitting there trying to recover, maybe you got a broken leg, trying to drink rainwater, something like that. Next thing you know, something's dragging you away. That's not good. But he's not the only one. A lot of other people have disappeared in this area. A lot of people think its close proximity to Area 51 has something to do with it. Some even think it's ghosts that attack planes. The Nevada Triangle has become an aircraft graveyard. In the last 60 years, hundreds of pilots who have ventured into this area never return. At least not alive. Number 4. One of the most popular national parks in the world is Yosemite in California. It is known for its beauty and its wide array of wildlife, which includes bears. That has been a problem since forever. Bears have always been a problem in most national parks. Back when I first visited Yosemite, they had these outhouses that you would sit in that only came up to like your shoulders, sort of like a convertible car. This way you could see if anything was coming towards you while you were doing your business. The good news about those things, that if you did see a bear rushing towards you out of the woods while you're on the toilet, you were already prepared what was about to happen to your bowels. No need for Metamucil. The bear kind of worked that out for you. Yosemite is known for the many disappearances it has seen over the years, 45 of which have never been solved, and that dates back to the 1800s. There's even stories about children who were spirited away from where they originally were in the park and end up in a completely different section miles and miles away. These stories are blamed by supernatural beings that supposedly occupy the area. One in particular was Stacy Ann Arris, who was 14 years old when she disappeared in Yosemite. She was part of a group of 10 people that were on a 4-day guided horseback trip through the park. On July 17th, 1981, the group had reached some cabins that they were to stay overnight at. As everyone was eating and showering, she was last seen going over to some small lake not too far away to take pictures. They say the last person that saw her standing on a boulder about 50 yards away from camp. They never found a trace of her. Number 3, Lake Superior. One of the Great Lakes that sits along the border of the United States and Canada is Lake Superior, and it's gained notoriety over the years for the number of ships that it's claimed. The bottom of the lake is littered with wrecks that have been found, and some sit hundreds of years later waiting to be found. For this reason, the place attracts scuba divers and research vessels with remote submersibles that go down looking for sunken ships. Probably the most infamous is the Edmund Fitzgerald that went down in 1975. This was the inspiration for the famous folk song by Gordon Lightfoot called The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which told the story of the disaster. There are over 70 big ships that have disappeared on Lake Superior. About 15 of those have never been found. That's not even counting the smaller ones that have gone missing. There's an old saying that was also in the lyrics to the Gordon Lightfoot song, but the saying is, Superior, they say, never gives up its dead. Number 2. Pecos, New Mexico. Not to be confused with Pecos, Texas, this is a small village in New Mexico, and it's not too far from Santa Fe on the Pecos River, hence the name, Pecos. While it is a popular place for the outdoorsy hunting fishing types, it's also known for several disappearances that have occurred in the area. Back in 2009, a 61-year-old man went missing on a hunting trip and was never seen again. Melvin Nadal, age 61, vanished outside of Pecos near Elk Mountain on Sunday, September 6, 2009. There's been no trace of Mel at all. He and his friends went hunting. At some point, he decided to stay near camp and poof, Mel was gone. This and many other missing persons have led the locals to refer to the area as the Pecos Triangle, with roads supposedly haunted by supernatural beings and UFOs. Of course, if it's New Mexico, Arizona, someone's got to throw some aliens in there. UFOs, whatnot, all that good stuff. Have you ever noticed whenever they got a couple too many people go missing in an area, they throw a triangle on it? And number 1, the Alaskan Triangle. See, there it is again. Triangle. The border of the Alaskan Triangle stretches from Barrow at the north coast to Anchorage and to Juneau across the southern coast and includes vast areas of largely uninhabited wilderness. Sprawling forests and a desolate tundra are clearly not the safest places in the world for humans to, put down roots. Hundreds of search and rescue missions conducted every year by the Alaskan State Troopers rarely find a trace of bodies of people that went missing in the area. The triangle came into the public's attention when the then U.S. House Majority Leader Hale Boggs' airplane vanished somewhere between Anchorage and Juneau on October 16, 1972. The disappearance triggered one of the country's largest search and rescue operations ever, involving 40 military aircraft, 50 civilian planes, and 39 days of searching an area of about 32,000 square miles. The search found nothing. No wreckage, no debris, no human remains, nothing. On November 24, 1972, the search was suspended after 39 days. Disappearances without a trace are not unusual in this region. Since 1988, more than 16,000 people have vanished in the Alaskan Triangle. This contributes to an annual filing of roughly 4 missing person reports for every 1,000 people in Alaska, more than twice the national average. Alright, so that's my top 10 places people keep disappearing from in the United States. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. That was a lot to take in. That was a really weird one to do. I'm kind of alarmed at what's going on in the Alaskan Triangle. Anyway, don't forget all the links below. Give the video a big thumbs up. Tell me what you thought. Maybe I missed one. I'd love to hear about it. If you haven't subscribed, please do so and click that little bell so you'll be notified whenever I have an upload. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.